I teach 10th grade English, which means teenagers hand me their lives disguised as essays about symbolism. In September, the first gave them a prompt I've used for years. Write about an ordinary object that holds an extraordinary truth. Most kids wrote about sneakers, friendship bracelets, the river. One paper was about a thermos. The essay started like this. He always brings cocoa in a dented green thermos that squeaks when he twists the cap. He says the squeak means the heat is trapped. He calls me kiddo even though I'm taller than him now. Mom puts 2 mugs on the table before he knocks, like she can hear his truck from the next town. The kid's name was Luca, bright, sarcastic, good at hiding how much he cared. He wrote that the thermos smelled like cedar because the man kept it in a toolbox, that he told the kind of jokes you have to be tired to laugh at, that he used a phrase I'd heard 1,000 times and thought belonged only to my kitchen. Let's make the next right thing the next thing we do. That's my husband's line. The first time Noah said it, we were 24 and trying to decide between pizza and breaking up. The phrase stuck to our refrigerator like a magnet. It became how we paid bills and apologized and chose carpet. I never heard anyone else use it. I circled the sentence in Luca's paper, the way teachers do when they're pretending the red pen is only for verbs. And I went home with a stack of essays that sounded like rivers and one that sounded like my marriage. Kids mimic adults, I told myself, stirring soup like it could keep my hands from shaking. Maybe the phrase is a quotation from some podcast. Maybe my line was never mine. I set the paper on the counter. Noah came in smelling like sawdust and autumn. He coaches woodworking at the community center 2 nights a week. Half his students are teenagers who don't have shop class anymore. The other half are men who forgot how to sit still. He kissed the back of my neck and reached for the soup, like a person who shares a kitchen, because he earned it. How was class? I asked. Good, he said. We made joints that hold even when the glue forgets what it's for. I handed him a spoon. He tasted, added salt, and said, let's make the next right thing. The next thing we do, I finished, like a reflex. The spoon clinked. The house hummed in the way houses do when people are being careful. After dinner I graded until my eyes turned to oatmeal. I left Luca's essay for last. I read it again. The thermos, the squeak, the cedar, the phrase. I checked the date he'd turned it in 2 days late with an apology. Had to help my mom. I googled the phrase just to prove that language belongs to crowds. Results: a faith blog, a yoga coach, a children's book. My husband is not a blog. At school I asked Mara, our counselor, not the same Mara as in any other town. Counselors come with common names and uncommon stamina. How to read a paper that felt like an x-ray. Carefully, she said, and with 2 cups of water. She scanned the essay and didn't look at me when she asked, is this about you? Maybe, I said. Talk to the kid about thermoses, she said. Not men. So I did. In class I told them you can make a symbol out of anything if you carry it long enough. I asked Luca what his thermos tasted like. Cocoa, he said, trying to be annoyed and failing. Why cocoa? I asked. He shrugged. He brings it because our heat got cut off in January last year. Mom was too proud to tell anyone. He brought a heater and cocoa and said heaters are louder when they know they're needed. What color's the thermos? Army green. Brand? Stanley, I think. Does it squeak? He looked at me like I'd said his middle name. Yeah. What phrase does he say when things are bad? Laughter from the room. Teenagers love when teachers push too far. Luca frowned. What is this? A writing conference, I said, smiling. You can say pass. He closed his notebook. Pass. After school, I drove past the Oak Ridge apartments, where a lot of my students live. Trash cans like soldiers, laundry like flags. Luca's building had a paper taped to the door, elevator out. On the steps, a pair of boots I recognized from my front hall, the kind that leave sawdust like confession. I parked and watched Noah carry a box up the stairs. He wore his blue cap, the one with the logo from the volunteer team that hangs drywall for people who can't afford the word contractor. He knocked. A woman opened the door, 30-something, tired, hair up, kindness visible even from the car. She took the box and smiled. Luca, taller than me now, moved a heater inside. Then Noah handed over a green thermos. I didn't flood. I didn't explode. I felt like a person who hears their own name in a crowd. I watched Noah touch the doorframe as he left, the way he blesses wood. Watched him walk back to the truck and sit for a full minute, hands on the wheel, as if he had to decide who he was again before he started the engine. At home I put 2 mugs on the counter and didn't heat anything. When Noah came in, he took off his cap and saw my face and said, "Okay." "Okay what?" "Okay, I should have told you." "How long?" "For months." "How many mugs?" "2," he said. "One for them, one for me." "Why the thermos?" "They didn't have heat." "Why the phrase?" He smiled without humor. "Because it's ours and I wanted to put it in a room that didn't have enough of anything." "Is there anything else you put in that room that belongs to us?" "No," he said. "Do you love her?" "No," he said again. "I care about them." "That's different." "Is it?" I asked, because I needed to hear him work for it. He sat. "Her rent went up after the flood. Her hours got cut. Luca started skipping class to watch his sister. And if he misses 3 more days, truancy court gets hungry. She's proud and stubborn and good." I stayed after woodworking one night to fix a broken cabinet and saw a pink notice on her table. I offered to call the energy assistance line. She said she'd already been on hold for an hour. I said I'd bring a heater the next morning. Then I did. And the next week. Then the thermos when the weather lied about spring. "You didn't tell me." "I told myself I was protecting your kindness from taking on a second job," he said. "I told myself I would tell you after I solved it so you didn't have to carry it." "Secrets don't carry weight for you alone," I said. "They're like chairs people left at a party. Someone always trips even when the room is empty." He nodded. "You're right. Are you in love with the feeling of being necessary?" "Yes," he said simply. "It's my favorite drug." My body did an inventory of hurts and found one I hadn't expected. I wasn't afraid he was sleeping with anyone. I was afraid he was sharing our words. The phrase, the cocoa, the way he touched the doorframe, the small rituals that make a marriage a country. "Don't give away our language," I said, and it sounded petty and true. "It wasn't a gift," he said. "It was a lighthouse." We went to Mara. Counselors hold other people's gravity for a living. She put 2 tissues on the table and said, "Use them only if they're honest." We told her everything. I told her about the essay. Noah told her about heaters. She said, "No more secret deliveries. If you want to be good men, you can do it with proper nouns. Utility fund, ledger, names on forms. If you want to be neighbors, you can do that, too. But you don't get to be mysterious." Noah apologized. "Not the cheap kind. The kind that lists nouns, thermos, cocoa, phrase, boots, doorframe." I apologized for treating his usefulness like a rival instead of remembering it fed the part of him I married. We agreed he could keep helping. Through the school fund I ran for emergencies, receipts, boundaries, no midnight heroics without a text. I still had to teach Luca. I still had to grade papers about thermoses. I wrote on his draft, "Your image is strong. Consider what cocoa means besides heat." He wrote back, "It means somebody keeps showing up." Weeks went by. The elevator stayed broken, then got fixed badly, then fixed for real. Heater season gave way to allergy season. The thermos still squeaked, but not in my kitchen. No more secret visits. If there was cocoa at Oak Ridge, it came in paper cups from the church on Lexington where the volunteers serve food and tax advice. Then, the Tuesday before break, Luca didn't come to class. He didn't come Wednesday either. Thursday, his sister showed up at school without her backpack and with a cough. That made me want to call the mood for a favor. At lunch, I found Noah in the shop. "I think something's wrong." He didn't ask who. He grabbed his cap and we drove to Oak Ridge. A notice was taped to the door. "Eviction hearing Friday 9 a.m. A second note was below it. "This is not a bill." The lie shouted louder than the words did. We called everyone, the assistance line, the legal clinic, the church, Mara. It was too late for paperwork, too early for miracles. Rent was past due. The building had changed owners and the new owner didn't care about river stories. Noah looked at me like a person facing the hardest wood. "We can cover a month," he said. "With what?" I asked. "My savings," he said. "You don't have savings." "Then the truck fund," he said, and smiled crooked. He'd been saving for a used truck with actual heat and fewer prayers. Trucks can wait longer than kids can. Not like this, I said. We don't make private decisions about public problems. So we make a public decision, he said, and texted 5 names. The men from his class who show up when beams sag. The church woman who keeps a ledger of casseroles. The math teacher who runs numbers like they're stories and the stories always end with something you can hold. We made a fund overnight that wasn't a miracle. It was a spreadsheet and for furious grandmothers. Friday morning, court smelled like pencils. The landlord's lawyer had expensive shoes and a tone that said facts are just furniture. Luca's mom kept her back straight and her eyes dry. Mara sat beside her and held the hand that wasn't writing. I sat behind them like a punctuation mark. Noah stood in the back like a person who knows he can't lift this but still wears the gloves. The judge asked questions that forget people are breathing. The ledger from the landlord said 3 months. The ledger from our fund said 1 paid today, 1 pledged, 1 on plan. The note from the school said kids enrolled, attendance improving. The letter from the church said support network exists. The judge looked at the shoes, then at us, then at the children fidgeting with the sleeves of a coat that had done winter twice. He granted a stay, not absolution, a pause long enough for a life to catch up. Outside, Luca's mom cried the quiet way. She hugged Mara, then turned to me like she recognized the kind of woman who keeps a town running by reminding it to use its adjectives. She said, "Thank you," and it meant all of us. That night, Noah and I sat on the floor again like amateurs at being fine. He said, "I didn't betray you the way people think of when they say that word." "No," I said. "You betrayed me in the way that looks like a good deed held to close. You carried a room by yourself. And you?" "I betrayed the part of you that can't not carry," I said. "I treated it like an enemy when it was just a muscle you didn't train with me." We made new rules. They weren't romantic. They were the kind you tape inside a cabinet. Text before you help. Use the fund, not the card. Share the phrases we share only when both of us say yes. We kept the phrase we didn't retire it, but we decided it lives in our house and we lend it out in quotes, like a library book with a due date. In May, my class did final readings. Luca volunteered last. He brought a green thermos and set it on the podium. He read a new piece. The ordinary object is a hearing notice folded like a paper airplane I didn't throw. The extraordinary truth is that some people show up with heaters and some show up with spreadsheets and some with clipboards and some with phrases that sound like stairs. The truth is I still don't like cocoa. The truth is I drink it anyway because it tastes like a plan. After school, he left the thermos on my desk. I chased him into the hall. "You forgot this." He shook his head. "We don't need it now. We have heat." He looked at me, then at Noah waiting by the truck, and said, "Thank you for grading me like I was a writer and not a problem." He left. I held the thermos. It squeaked. I brought it home and put it on our counter between 2 mugs like a souvenir from a country we had visited and survived. We still mess up. We still borrow each other's adjectives without asking. But when life gets complicated now, we say the phrase together, out loud, and we mean us, not the entire zip code. Let's make the next right thing the next thing we do. Sometimes the next right thing is cocoa. Sometimes it's a letter to a judge. Sometimes it's telling your spouse before you carry a heater up 3 flights of stairs. And here's the part I didn't expect. Our language didn't get smaller by sharing it. It got heavier, in a way that makes it stay where we put it. So tell me in the comments, is an emotional secret done for good reason still a betrayal? Would you be more hurt by a hidden act of care that used your shared rituals, or by a blunt confession that arrived too late?